East West football, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are officially 3 days removed from the NFL scouting combine where we saw some young men put on some of the best shows of their lives and some not so much. Some hurt themselves, some helped themselves, some don't know where they stand right now. We saw one guy in Andrew Voorhees, offensive guard of USC. We never want to see anything horrible like that happen ever. But he tore his ACL and came back and pushed out 39 reps of 225. That was a pretty machismo of him. Great big ups to Andrew Voorhees. But let's jump straight into this, fellas. Biggest winners and losers from this past weekend's NFL scouting combine. Emmanuel, shoot out.
Well, the biggest winners, I'll be biased. I'll just say it straight up, is the guys from my areas, the Quebecers, the Matthew Bergeron from Thetford, my Cégep. I went to Syracuse, City South from Champlain, Elixville. I went to Eastern Michigan. I mean, I got to give them some love because of where I'm from. But yeah, these guys were winners just given the fact that they really look athletic for their size. But in the bigger scale, biggest winner, I think you definitely have to start with Anthony Richardson. Uh, Simply because he met the hype of his athleticism that not only you see on tape, but the numbers are staggering. Not many guys are 6'4", 244 pounds, are able to run 4'4", 40s, jump 40-inch, broad jump almost 11 feet. Like that's unheard of. And also, mind you, as erratic as he is a bit on tape, he did have the most natural arm that I've seen in the QB workout of everyone. Look at how he spinned the ball. Like any guys, most guys had to actually gather themselves to throw that big 60-yarder and whatnot. He was just flicking it and it traveled. Like it's crazy. So he really helped himself in terms of like putting a spotlight on his athleticism to be considered number one overall. But to me, that's where your job as a scout, as a decision maker, and as a coach, you also have to be realistic. And should you take Anthony Richardson, what are you going to need to coach him on? Why? He's still erratic as a short, immediate distant thrower. Processing can be an issue at times. Although he does show the ability to throw on the run well, but at times it just, he going to scramble? Is he throwing the ball? Is he overthinking? So he's prone to be a guy where you're gonna have to cater your offense really to his skill set. That means you're gonna have even more to cut down on your personnel and be really selective so that you let him grow until he figures out to become really a guy who can, become a proficient pocket passer from the pocket. So offensively, that would be my biggest winner. The other guy I think on defense who was my biggest winner would be Nolan Smith.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, he missed most of the year due to an injury. And mind you, I mean, you saw Georgia when they won the championship, and he was still a leader. But it was so nice to see that he responded to validate that he's the same type of uber athletes like the guys from last year, the Jordan Davis, the Devontae
Yeah.
Wyatt, the Trayvon Walker, that is in that realm. Like, is it going to be easy to project him? Which position is he going to end up on the defense? Still no. But hey, if I have a 6'2", 240-pound guy who can almost run a 4.3 jump for like 40 inches and do a lot of things, well, I want this guy in a scheme diverse defense and just move him around and see what he can become. So these are my two biggest winners so far. But how about you guys?
Ashanti.
Yeah, yep. And E hit it right on the nose, man. Those are my two guys too. But if I had to pick a couple other guys, we just talked about CJ Stroud. I think that, remember, you're only as good as your last game. You know what I'm saying? The picture in people's minds was they lost to Ohio State lost to Michigan, and I
People were down
remember
on him
I
after
was
that.
arguing with people, not arguing, but I was debating with people on Facebook and was saying CJ Stroud was a terrible quarterback. And I go, are you out of your mind? This guy is just, I think that fueled him. They won the bowl game, and he came out and just was flicking a rock all around the field, man, in the combine. And it does mean something because people say, well, the combine is just a guy that's running around in shorts and he throwing the ball. And, that kid was throwing the ball with purpose, Walt. I think that CJ Stroud, arguably maybe the second quarterback taken off the board. You know what I'm saying? Because just what he said about Anthony Richardson, I think he shook everything up. The top five is shook up right now as we speak. You know what I'm saying? He took a detonator and blew it up. I mean, right now, and CJ Stroud could be right behind him. So for me, not having Smith and Jigba like most of the season, having Marvin Harrison Jr., it wasn't the typical juggernaut Ohio State offense, you know what I'm saying, this year that we seen, in my opinion. So, and Stroud still put up some decent numbers, you know what I'm saying. So, for me, I think that he separated himself too in front of Will Levis. I think, we was talking about that in the other, fourth, fifth rated quarterback, however you got him rated. But absolutely, CJ Stroud, in my opinion, was one of the big winners. And if I had to pick another guy, it would be between Darnell Washington and Jordan Addison. If I would pick Darnell Washington. First of all, I love the tight end class. This tight end class is sick, man. I mean, that's why when you mentioned Michael Mayer at the beginning of the season, I was like, man, he head and shoulders. Then you got Will Mallory, man. You got what's the kid from Iowa, Sam Laporta. I mean, Wiley from Cincinnati. I mean, it's some good tight ends out there, but I think Darnell Washington's a specimen, man. You know what I'm saying? I think whoever takes this kid is going to be pleasantly surprised. This guy's like a walking he'll drag three guys in the end like a TJ Duckett with speed. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of familiar with here in the Midwest. I mean, this guy is incredible, man. I really was off the charts with him. I mean, you knew he was a big, strong kid, but he's got some big, he's fast as hell. You know what I'm saying?
He's agile, man. He had a 4.08 20-yard shuttle. That was, I think, the second or the third best of everyone.
Yeah.
6'7", 264 pounds. That's crazy.
Whew. And he run like a deer. I love Darnell Washington. I think that, that kid's a first round pick, you know what I'm saying? Or at least a top 35, you know what I'm saying? First pick of the second, that type of thing. He ain't gonna be on the board long, man. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, if David Njoku, as raw as he came out when he came out from Miami, is able to be a late first, this kid can be a top 20 pick, hands down.
Hands down. And I totally agree. And I think this combine really helped those two, Stroud and Darnell Washington, in my opinion, Walt. And you know what? We talked about I don't want to mess his name up. Adebawore. Adebawore. Thank you. From Northwestern, the kid's a beast, man. Yeah, that kid, to run a 4. What was it? Something crazy.
4.49.
4.49 had it written out.
It's 6'2", 282 pounds.
Yeah, and I've seen the kid play. Like, I don't realize you don't realize how fast that is for a defensive lineman, man. You know what I'm saying? And it matters. It really does. I mean, that kid, can get to the quarterback. And like you said, it depends on what system he's going to go to. Maybe a little handsy right now. That's what I see him coming off the ball. Maybe, you got to control that a little bit. But I think, again, that kid might be a top 25 pick, man. He really played himself and performed himself into the lower part of the first round. You know what I mean? You never know, man. And with the quarterback situation so hot and heavy right now, somebody's going to slide. A defensive player that we were not talking about, or offensively. So guys like him they're going to be had. Him, Washington, those guys might be, they could wind up going to a good team. They could go to Philly or Kansas City or somebody that's already established and make them a better player, right off the bat, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree 1,000% on Darnell Washington. I think he has the potential to be, especially with the right offensive coordinator and the right scheme, he can be a complete difference maker through the air or on the ground. In the end zone, I mean, as far as the red zone, the green zone, everywhere, it's the possibilities with what you can do with him are limitless. Now, what I'm really grateful to see is the fact that he got himself in shape really quick. Because even like down the stretch of the season, you could still see that he was in shape, but he was kind of like I'm in shape 21-year-old shape in college football. I don't have to be in NFL shape yet, but he came into the combine looking pretty good in NFL shape. Question though, getting back to the quarterbacks. Now, I didn't find the class to be really that impressive overall. I love C.J. Stroud, his performance. I thought Anthony Richardson's performance was rather good. Even though, for me, in these type of situations, these guys have been throwing those routes forever, since
Yeah.
high school, since before high school, running through those cones, running those drills forever. I want to see ball placement. You know, where's the ball at when you start hitting those that on that double, not that double out, but as far as the quick out or the deep out or the
Mm-hmm.
post, is it
Yep.
on the outside shoulder dropping in or is it too far inside getting intercepted?
Mhm.
And I think too often people just see, oh, he performed well. He completed all of his passes. The
Right.
ball never touched the ground. Like
Mhm.
that's good, but does it matter if his accuracy was all over the place?
Yep.
Not to say that, Anthony Richardson's accuracy was all over the place, but there were some of those throws that you can definitely see he still has, concerns with.
Oh,
And
definitely.
Will, like I said, Will Levis, his performance in general was kind of underwhelming considering what we were hyped up to expect. So, did Bryce Young do himself a disservice by not performing?
I don't think so.
No.
Because for me, if you're an evaluator, again, the tape has to take precedence over what guys can perform at the combine in underwears. Like I said, Anthony Richardson, the only thing he did was validated as he's a mega freak. But does that mean that the questions about how he's going to process the field as a quarterback are answered? Probably not. It's just that he's just more enticing to develop, right? Will Levis, we know he was a really well built quarterback. He has a strong arm, but issues layering certain balls. So if these things, those mega freaks have issues but like a prototype who's not that athletic, let's say like a CJ Stroud or undersized guy like Bryce Young, but layers the ball the way you want to at the NFL level, especially the way it is wide open now and how offensive coordinators can be creative, hands down, like this is the guy you want to start with. Why? Because if day one, he can be an impact player from the quarterback position. If you believe that's what he is, why would you overlook that and risk your job trying to coach a guy who's a mega freak, but yet may not be don't control how fast he's going to respond to your coaching to strictly be a quarterback. And mind you, their style of play, when you have to let a guy run the ball and whatnot while he figures out to pass the ball, leads the guy to be susceptible to more injuries. Just look at Lamar Jackson last year.
Mm-hmm.
Although he got bigger, but he missed a bunch of games the last 2 years, regardless, due to his style of play.
All right, so question then to wrap this part of this segment up. How much do you know right now? So we saw what we saw at the combine. Guys got pro days coming up now, the next few weeks, couple weeks. Is your board set? Are you waiting to see, okay, how does this guy throw the ball at his pro day versus this guy and this and that? Or are you pretty much set? And if you are set, who's the number one quarterback off the board?
Ashanti, go ahead.
Anthony Richardson. He's the first one. It's dude. It's should he be? No, he's not. He shouldn't be. But you got a lottery ticket in your hand, bro. You know what I'm saying? and you trying to cash this bad boy in. You know what I'm saying? If you take Will Levis, ain't gonna move the needle for your franchise. You know what I'm saying? CJ Stroud, we all agree. We had agreed in the pre-show. We all like CJ Stroud. I do. You know what I'm saying? I think, yeah, CJ Stroud may be the best pure passer in this draft. Bryce Young, ton of talent, electrifying. He will be in the next level. We know this. Um, yeah, he's good. Any team would be happy to have him. But Anthony Richardson is dude. Y'all seen it. He's already climbed up the charts, man. And I think first guy taken off the board as far as the quarterbacks, in my opinion. That's what I think. Now where he goes, I have no idea who's gonna come up and get him, or if the Texans gonna take him. You got whatever GM gonna have balls of steel. Put it that way to justify taking him. You know what I'm saying? Because if you take him, he probably ain't gonna start the first season. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, man. It's crazy. It's crazy we even having this conversation because we know Bryce Young is so talented and he shouldn't even get slighted the way he is. And we know, CJ Stroud and stuff like that. It's just, I'm just, if you ask me if I had to pick a guy, I would say Anthony Richardson gonna be first guy. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, one more question then, because is it just because of the running ability? Because your offense could be just as dynamic with C.J. Stroud. Like they take Detroit for example.
Mm-hmm.
With how Detroit is built offensively, you could honestly plug any one of those three quarterbacks in there, and they could probably be successful.
Right.
Sure, sure. And I would love if the Lions took CJ Stroud at 6, you won't see me complain one bit. You know what I'm saying? Even with the defensive players on the board, um, I'm in the camp of whoever. If we're talking Lions, whoever we take, walk gonna sit anyways. I mean, because Jared Goff is the quarterback going forward, at least for next year. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Only thing this is what I hope for the young man. This is what I hope for Anthony Richardson because I just hope he goes somewhere and they're patient with him and they just don't throw him out there and they just you the number 3 pick in this draft and you got to go out there right away. It's going to be like a Jamarcus Russell type thing. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I just
Mhm.
don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? I like everything's got to be uh, uh, strategically planned out with him. I think that's because you're going to have a scheme. You got to have the players around him. You just can't throw him out there and expect him to change it in one just because he's the third or second pick overall. But I think when everything happens, I think the risk, the reward, I think is far greater than any of those other guys, man. That's what I think. As far as the quarterback position goes. But
Okay.
day one starter, I don't know about that.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say this because I was watching a couple plays of his this past weekend. He reminds me a lot, and it took this dude when he got to the league. He came to the league with a lot of hype. He kind of stunk the first couple years in the league, 2.5 years in the league before the light finally went on for him. He was a dual threat quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Steve McNair, like build wise, mobility wise. Both was guys were like, well, Steve was a little short. I think Steve was like 6'2", 240.
Mhm.
Richardson 6'4", 6'4.5", 240. Um, Steve was fast. I don't know if he was necessarily at that point in time Anthony Richardson fast, but Steve was like the new prototype
Mhm.
because
Hmm.
at that point in time the NFL hadn't seen quarterbacks his
Right. You
size
hadn't
with
seen that,
with
right?
his type of mobility and the cannon the way he had. But people forget, we saw the later Tennessee Titan days where he was winning playoff games and running around on the field in the Super Bowl making throws against the Rams, and
Right.
people forget the Houston Oilers, it took a minute. They took their time with him. When he first got there, they tried to throw him out there and it didn't work.
Right.
And they had, I believe, Chris Chandler. Chandler took over and he sat and he learned behind Chandler, and they slowly brought him along and they reaped the benefits of Steve McNair later on in his career. I agree. I think it's a situation where if he goes somewhere and they expect him to do too much, it's going to be a disaster. But
Yeah,
if you
Yep.
put him in a situation where he can sit and grow, and you surround him with some decent offensive line, give him an offensive line, so therefore there's no excuse for him to constantly bail on the pocket
I think
because he's
every quarterback needs an offensive line.
yeah, yeah. You know, but sometimes when teams get
Yep.
these athletic quarterbacks, they get amnesia and feel like they don't have to give them anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Mhm.
so all right, but man, we spend too much time on those quarterbacks. The best position on the field, the most important position on the field. But who is the number one tight end in this draft?
Ooh,
Because me
ooh.
personally, if I
Wow.
want to, if I want to win this season, I'm probably still taking Michael Mayer.
Me
I
too.
still think Mayer is the best all around tight end. He's the safest.
Yeah.
He plays with that attitude and that physicality I like to see out of my tight ends. I don't care about whether he runs a 4 or 5 or not. That's not a necessity for a tight end for me. I like Dalton Kincaid.
Yep.
He's more of that glorified H back. If you're looking for the Travis Kelsey type, which who wouldn't love to have a Travis Kelsey? He's more of that downfield threat. He's more of a downfield threat than Michael Mayer. Musgrave is another guy who
Hmm.
has some ability. Missed some
Yep.
time this past season,
It's
but
Oregon State, right? I think
Yeah.
he's
yeah,
Oregon
from
yeah,
State.
Oregon State.
Yeah.
Yep.
yep. So
Mhm.
man, there's a load of tight ends, man. But like I said, if I'm trying to, and me and you discussed this about Detroit,
Yeah.
if we had if tight end was on the board at 18, I would feel safer taking Michael Mayer, honestly. Even though, because basically, when I look at Darnell Washington, abnormal size athletes kind of scare me. Whether it's basketball, football, whatever sport. Guys that look at Mekhi Becton with the Jets, and we discussed Becton before he got drafted. Guys that are just abnormally sized like that, athletically, those guys tend to have a lot of issues.
Right.
So, and then
Yeah.
you're talking about him playing the tight end position,
Yeah.
where he's going to be in traffic between the hashes all day long. So guys are going to be hitting him. He's
Right.
not a breakaway speed type of guy, so he's going to be getting beat on and beat on consistently. So,
Yeah.
I'm personally, I still think it's Mayer. After that, I may be willing to take a gamble on Washington, but I wouldn't gamble on Washington unless I have a number one tight end already in place. He would
Right.
be an added weapon. I wouldn't want to actually lean on him too much.
Definitely.
For
Mhm.
sure.
For sure, for sure. I think with tight ends, I think historically we've seen that, all the guys we mentioned, the Travis Kelce's, the George Kittle, even the Dawson Knox, the Darren Waller. There's a reason also that these guys, you can find them late in later rounds. Not that I want to devalue the tight end position. I mean, it's plenty rich this year to project having one at the top. But why these types of guys, you can kind of like find one later on is that not many guys that are 6'5", 250 pounds can run, and you teach them how to catch and block. They're mismatched just from the moment they step on the field, especially if they're coachable. Now the question is that are the guys at the top, like the Michael Mayer, like are you getting, I don't know, Jeremy Shockey at the top of the draft, Greg Olsen? Are
Mhm.
you getting like those elite guys that came from the first round, the Tony Gonzalez, or
Mhm.
are they guys that teams are going to reason and be like, you know what, let's just wait until the best player out of the tight ends falls to us if we feel is the best player over other needs like offensive line, defensive line, or quarterback, then yes, we take him. If not, then we may see. Although I think the tight end position, some teams may draft these tight ends over receivers in the first round, given the fact that the wide receiver class, maybe there's maybe 2 or 3 guys who were first round versus tight ends. You could have up to 5 or 6 guys that could be first round value. But I think that still some teams may be like, well, if Kelsey and Kittle came third, fifth, and later rounds, why do I have to rush as well in drafting a guy? But to your question, yes, I would go Mayer first simply because he gives you the best combination today, receiving and blocking. If you look at him, the way he blocks, he's a terror. Like he's a machine. And then whenever he picks up the football, like he makes the toughest catches in the crowd. He has really strong hands and he can break off tackles. He's not the most elusive guy, but he still finds a way to get extra yards, and he plays with a motor. That would be my guy number one. My guy number two now would be Dalton Kincaid, simply because today in the NFL, well, a Travis Kelce will make you think, well, what if I can have that tight end who can be a volume catcher all over the field with a short, intermediate, and the deep part of the field, and I can give him the ball 6, 7, 10 times and open up my offense the same way that Kelce opened the offense for the rest of the receiver for the Chiefs, then why not that guy? So I think Kincaid really helped himself this year, especially that USC game. Like, to me, I'll be honest with you, I was high on Kincaid more than I thought people were earlier in, like before the season, but I had maybe like a third round grade on him, if I'm honest, because the athleticism, I didn't necessarily see it, but he did have other tight ends that were at Utah. But I think this year, for some reason, the light really came on athletically. So I think that'll be Kincaid. And then if I have to take a third guy, I think Luke Musgrave is the guy to go in terms of, he's a prototype. I think he projects as a guy that could be really, really good tight end, maybe 2-3 years down the line. Maybe not his first year, but like down the seam, he is fast, really fast, really athletic. Like he's really like, he is like vertically, although he didn't have the best vert, but on tape, you would think he has the best vert of all the time. It's kind of like a Darren Waller type of tight end, So if you like that type, Luke Musgrave. Otherwise, man, you have Darnell Washington, but there's a guy that people are underrating, Tucker Kraft, South Dakota State. That is a guy, honestly, to me, that's a guy, another guy who wants first-round consideration. I get it. He missed most of his past year due to injuries, but look at his sophomore tape. While I was evaluating the guy who got drafted by the Patriots, the running back, Pierre Strong, every time I turned on the South Dakota State tape, I was like, who's number 85? Catching the ball, take like short passes, bringing them down, like all the way down the field and whatnot. I'm like, who's that big guy who has that run after catch ability? So I'm going to say Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is more of a guy who's going to make tough catches. Not to say he's not elusive. This guy has really run after the catch ability more than Goddard. And I think he's underrated given the fact that he was injured. But again, at the end of the day, it's a matter of finding the right team. So I would say these are the tides I'll pay attention. But number one, yes, on my board is Mayer. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Kincaid's a catch machine, man. Like and like very similar to Kelce. I remember talking to my one of my close friends during the Super Bowl. He just kept texting me like, "How in the hell does Kelce keep getting wide open?" That's what it looked like when you watch Utah. Like boom, open again, boom, open again, boom, open again. Like how in the hell do teams keep letting Kincaid get open like that? But yeah, I mean, you need that. Who doesn't want a guy who's pretty much a security blanket for the offense?
Right.
But all right, so Ashanti, who's the number one tight end, man?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. You know what I'm saying? Michael Mayer is the hands down the number one. For the reasons that was stated already. But you know what? I'm if I had to pick a couple guys, Josh Wiley comes to mind from Cincinnati. May not be like the sexy pick, or anything. He's not the first, but he's definitely draftable. That type of thing. Smart, sure-handed. Good. You got a little bit of wheels on him. I don't know how beneficial he would be the blocking scheme. I haven't watched him to the extent. But I know he's a good pass catcher and he's sure-handed. So for that reason, he's going to get drafted. You know what I mean? Might not be as high. But another guy, I trust Iowa and their tight end crop, from Kittle to Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson. I like Sam Laporta. I think Sam Laporta did good, did good with getting his name out there, showing that he may be a little bit undersized, to me look more like an H-back type thing, but that's therefore he probably gonna be 5th or 6th round, but I mean a late a late tight end from Iowa definitely is not going to hurt because he's well coached up because that's what they do over in Iowa. At Iowa, they put out good product. At the tight end position. So, yeah, Sam Laporta is a guy that I kind of looked at the combine. The cones. Good shot, like I said, sure-handed, good crisp route runner. A little bit more rugged. I want my tight end to kind of help in the passing game too.
Right.
Like you said, Walt, and I agree with E. I agree with both of y'all. For me, it always go back to the Lions, right? So the Lions need a playmaker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Brock Wright was good. Yeah, Shane Zylstra. We did it by committee after we traded T.J. Hockenson, and that's what Sam Laporta and Josh Wiley is. He's another one of those guys. Like you said, difference makers. Absolutely, Michael Mayer, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's got. I want my tight end to run fast, so I look at the quickness and I look at how you can just destroy the opposing defenses, man. When you can break them down, you got to have somebody. Look at Philly, like you said in the Super Bowl, they couldn't basically stop Kelsey, and that's why they lost the game pretty much because they couldn't cover the tight end. But I mean, we just stated Michael Mayer. We're all in agreement. He is the number one, tight end in this draft wall. It ain't even close to me, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And those other guys are good. And then we got a local guy. I mean, we can't forget about Shoemaker, man. You know what I'm saying? From Michigan, he ran. What was it? A 4.59 or something like that? 4.6. He ran something like that. So Shoemaker's definitely a guy to be looked at too. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if he, was a mid-round pick. Michigan got a good pedigree and stuff like that with tight ends. So.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Shoemaker's the type of guy, like going back to my point to compare what you're saying, that a team can be like, listen, there's that guy in the fourth round that I believe is that if I just coach him up, can become a stud pro bowler. And Shoemaker has all the attributes that you want. He's fast enough. He's really strong as a blocker. He can get vertical. Michigan did not exploit him to an extent of the Kincaids or the Mayers or even Luke Musgrave.
Well, you know what? They had a log jam. Also,
they had a log jam.
We had what? Eric All. Didn't Eric All transfer to Iowa?
Yeah, he transferred. Yeah, he went. Yeah.
But they were mainly a running team as well, So you have to also, at times for players, you have to also take in consideration what is the scheme they came from, mixed in with the skill set they exhibit to have. And should you be that type of system for his skill set, maybe are you the type of thing that can explore it? I think Shoemaker, that's a guy I wouldn't be surprised in 2-3 years if you say he's a pro bowler. He has maybe 10 touchdowns, and he's surprised like a Dawson Knox or guys like that who are drafted later on and you did not expect to blossom, So
which position group gives you the best value playmaker-wise, tight end or receiver this year? Because I'm higher on the tight ends this year than I am the receivers.
Yep.
Tight ends.
Hands down. Tight ends.
Hands down in all rounds.
Yep.
You still have guys, because even after, day 3, like you could still have a guy like Cameron Latu of Alabama. Will Mallory of Miami.
Elijah Higgins. And I tell people, watch out for
Elijah Higgins. I forgot about Elijah Higgins.
Higgins can be a difference maker. He can be a difference maker.
You have a lot of guys who could be starters. You don't be surprised if 10 to 15 tight ends from this group are starters in 3-4 years for NFL teams.
We know I told someone the other day the same thing about Patrick Mahomes. Pay attention to how they continue to consistently retool that offense around him, because without Tyreek Hill, he still won the Super Bowl without Tyreek, but the key is this. You didn't take away somebody he could depend on.
Mm-hmm.
He still had Travis Kelce. You can make the argument that if they would have took Kelce out of there and kept Tyreek, they may not have been as good.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So all a great quarterback needs is at least one guy that I can depend on. Just give me one. Just give me one. So if you look at Kansas City, why not continue to build that offense inside out? I'll give them another tight end. I won't even worry about the receivers. I can plug in guys on the outside that can get open. Right. But give him another security blanket underneath.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was well documented this year. You know, you go back to Kansas City. I mean, like you said, this is probably arguably the worst receiving core that Mahomes ever had. You know, Juju Smith Schuster, Valdez Scanley, they didn't really set the world on fire. You know what I'm saying? Kept with 100 catches or anything like that, 1,200 yards receiving. Like you said, it's the security blanket, man, of of Travis Kelsey. And I think the tight end, we seen how important it is in the NFL to have one. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a guy who could who can keep the other, keep the defense honest. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, this is a year of the tight end, like Emmanuel said. I've never seen it this deep before, ever, man. I mean, like you said, I mean, you could between the first 3 rounds, it could be 5 or 6 or 7 tight ends taken. You know what I'm
Yep,
saying? In the first 3 rounds, man, that's unheard of. So
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. All right, so final. Let's jump on best defensive players from this past combine. I
Well,
mean,
let me.
we saw a lot of performances. I love Isaiah Lamb, man, and I
Okay, talk
think
to me about it.
people are still like, what's not to see? I mean, we already saw it. Everybody saw the combine. I think he's another guy that people are really sleeping on, man. And you look at the excessive amount of sacks that he had in his career. Um, there's a lot to be said for guys who get to the quarterback. I told people last draft about James Houston that didn't want to believe me. I told people the previous draft about Chris Garrett, who went to Condoria, who the Rams wound up drafting late, I believe, in the 6th round, and they got some valuable snaps out of him. Being able to get to the quarterback transcends conferences. It transcends levels of football, and guys who can get to the quarterback, guys who amass a lot of hurries, that's what I focus on.
Right, makes
yeah.
sense. Totally makes sense. So that's your Isaiah Leonard is your top guy. Any like linebackers or DBs that stood out for you?
Drew. I think Drew Sanders did exactly what I thought he was going to do. I felt he was a better athlete, a better raw athlete than Will Anderson. I don't think anyone really believed Will Anderson was just going to go to the combine and light it up. We know what Will is. Will gets to the quarterback. Will creates a ton of hurries, and Will is going to finish plays. And Will is, I would say, in theory, I don't see him as a defensive end, an every down defensive end. I would love to see him in a 3-4 outside linebacker, and you can move him around, and you want to put him his hand in the dirt every now and then. You can also do that. But yeah,
Yeah,
Drew Sanders did what I thought he was going to do. He came in, he
yeah,
looked a little thicker. He didn't look as narrow as he looked this past season. But Drew was a guy who, on tape, just go back and watch. Drew did everything for them, man. Everything. He
he
led
was
them
a
in everything
monster.
defensively. And
Yeah,
despite the fact that they didn't give him nearly as many pass rush snaps as some of the other linebackers or edge rushers got, he still
right.
got 9.5 sacks.
Crazy. Yeah, no,
I think
Mo,
he's a difference maker. He's a pure difference maker, and he helped himself out a lot. Guy like Trenton Simpson, we knew athletically what he was going to do.
right.
For the most part. Um, Kalijah Cansey, I think
Yeah,
he answered a lot of questions. I
yeah,
don't think he's the same player that Aaron Donald is, and for me, the comp is kind of unfair to him.
Right.
yeah,
I think Aaron Donald was just a mean sob.
Even in college, yeah.
Like, like at the end of the day, he was a mean guy.
Yep,
And you can make all the height comparisons and hand sizes and this and that, but if you ain't got that mean sob in you, it really doesn't matter.
definitely.
So
yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of guys I think really helped themselves. I'm impressed. I think the cornerback group as a whole helped
Right,
themselves. That's the fastest cornerback group I've seen in a very long
that's
time.
true.
right, right.
Krista Gonzalez, Walt. I mean, for me, we know he's one of the top guys. That's a guy I'm cool with if we took him at 6 now, seeing what I seen
Well, let's talk
individually.
cornerbacks then. Why not?
Well, I had two linebackers. First, I had two linebackers that I wrote down that I really like. I like Jeremy Banks from
Got
Tennessee.
you.
Oh yeah, that's a
I
good
think
dude.
Jeremy Banks gonna be a beast, man. He look tackling machine. And
He's a
then
dude.
we text about him while Diane Henley, man. I think Diane
Yep,
Henley can
Washington
be ran
State.
a good 40 time, built like just a built strong side by side. You look at his tape,
Yep,
Washington State, I think it's Cougars, right? Yeah, Washington
Yep.
State. He forced
Cougars.
a
Yeah,
lot of turnovers, a lot of You know, he plays like you said to the whistle, and that's what I like about him. It's just two guys I wanted to mention, but they both had good
Nice.
combines. I thought, you know.
Not really good, really good. Me for linebackers, if I can chime in, the guy that I was hoping and he answered the bell at linebacker other than Drew Sanders was Jack Campbell of Iowa.
Yep.
That's my guy. That's my guy, Jack Campbell. That's what
Oh
I
my
was telling
God.
Walt.
6'5", legit 6'5",
Yeah, man.
250 pounds. Like to me, honestly, he had the best tape, even from his junior year as a pure inside linebacker. But I was like, he's how athletic is he? You know, he like even kind of average athleticism to me was at least a day 2 pick. Now I wouldn't be surprised if he's a late first round. Like
Mhm.
this guy, you know what you get. Think about it, 37-inch vert. He had the best like three cone out of any linebackers, including Trenton Simpson. And you see it on film, like the guy, he's a sideline to sideline beast, but you just wonder, is it because he's so extensive as a linebacker, or is it because he also has that plus athleticism? And given that he's shown that now, teams I think should be more confident that they're getting not only a pretty good middle linebacker, but a guy who's athletic enough to hang with the NFL guys at that level. So Jack Campbell, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a late first round pick.
Cool. Cornerbacks. Emmanuel, what's wrong with Keely Ringo?
My guy from Georgia, man, Keely Ringo, super athlete. I mean, he's fast, 4.36 40. But then that's you. Do you say that's it? You know, how well does he change directions? There's issues there. Didn't have surprisingly the longest arms out of the corners, rather short armed. But I mean, again, he's the way he is, right? So you're like, it's easy for a guy like that to maybe be pigeonholed as a one system guy. He's maybe cover three scheme top corner or pressman corner that has to always play on catch up speed. But then if you put him against a receiver who can definitely, like the Devontae Adams of the world, the DeAndre Hopkins, that are shifty in and out of their cuts, how sticky he is. And I think that's a major question for him laterally, how sticky he is. Like, you don't see those issues with Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez can stick with anybody in this draft. A big receiver, a small receiver, he can stick whether it's from the outside or inside. So Keely Ringo, I think, has a lot of coaching that you need to identify whether is your fit or not to take the gamble on him. But unfortunately, I don't think he's a slam dunk first round pick. Maybe a team will be enamored with the athleticism. And again, he did come up big to help win the first national championship for Georgia. And some team may be enamored with the size and speed. Like, you don't see many guys who are well over 200 pounds at corner and run that straight line fast. But I do think that, especially this year, given that there's too many options at corner, you have not only Gonzalez, who's slam dunk, top corner, top 10 pick. You have Joey Porter. Have you seen the long arms this kid has? My goodness. You have Emmanuel Forbes, who's a major ball hawk. You have a lot of dudes, the Maryland guy, Deontay Banks.
Yeah,
both Maryland guys.
Yeah, it's specimen, man.
Ja'Cory Bennett too.
Ja'Cory, yeah. You have options that you're like, do you need to really reach for a Keely Ringo, or can you wait till his proper value is there where you can more realistically coach him up? I don't doubt that Keely Ringo in the right, system can be a pro bowler. I just think that he needs to fall in the right situation with the right cornerback coach and system that will feature his catch-up speed, somewhat aggressive. He has some aggressive nature. I think you just need to fall in the right scheme, but he doesn't need to be a first-round pick to me.
Yeah, I was kind of underwhelmed at the combine, considering like I've been following Ringo for years since high school, and I expected him to like really blow up the combine. He had a decent combine, but what's strange about it was that he had usually when guys have his type of size speed combination, 6 foot, and we found out he wasn't really a complete 6 foot too, but usually when guys have his type of speed, the 4.3, 640, and the size and the weight and this and that, you expect a way better explosion number. Like his broad jump was okay, his vertical was low. like 33-inch vertical for a guy who runs a
Mhm.
4.36 is a little odd with his, his size, his
Right.
build and everything. But the lack of change of direction and the lack of decisiveness in zone. Now, if you want him to just, and I brought this up to Ashanti numerous times, I look at him as a guy who he's gonna have problems with the route gods, the Devontae
Yeah.
Adams, the Stephon Diggs, the Amari Coopers, the guys who can put him in the blender. They're gonna give him hell. But if you want to
Yeah.
match Keely up with the DK Metcalfs, the Mike Evans, um, the bigger dudes, the T Higgins, the guys who aren't gonna really get him too shifty, too much, guys who he can kind of get physical with and can run downfield with. Because if he can't do anything else, he can turn and run. He can get his
Mhm.
hands on you and turn and run.
Mhm.
So, like I said, he's
Right.
a guy who he's not perfect, but if you get him in the right situation and you know exactly what you're asking of him, he could turn out to be a stud. I wouldn't put it past him. He seems to be a pretty coachable player.
Yeah.
But if you put him in the wrong system, just like a lot of these
Right.
other guys, you could have issues.
Right.
But Ringo's a guy who,
Right.
for whatever reason it was this season, he got picked on a lot. You know, and
Right.
me and you discussed.
Mhm.
You look at guys who do you take the bigger athletic guy who played in a tougher conference against better competition, or do you take the
Mhm.
corner? That's one of my arguments about Witherspoon is that Witherspoon he had excessively high numbers in coverage in the
Mhm.
Big Ten, but he also didn't play Ohio State in 2022. And if you go through
Mhm.
his schedule, probably the best receiver he saw all season was either Charlie Jones of Purdue or Jaden Reed of Michigan State.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
didn't
But
really
even
see a
they
lot
gave
of
him
talent.
problem. Yeah. But
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
gave him problem. Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. So he didn't see a whole lot of talent. But he has characteristics of him that I wish I saw in Gonzalez more. Like he is very, very decisive and smart in
Mhm.
zone.
Definitely.
Witherspoon is. Gonzalez looks a little indecisive sometimes coming out of his back pedal, but he's a guy. You put him in man. You put him in man and let him off man press. I think he's going to be comfortable and he'll be fine.
Right.
So,
That's a
yeah,
guy I think that kind of got overlooked. He had a good 40 time. I think I have a major chip on his shoulders. Cam Smith, man. I
Oh,
think
that's
that
my guy.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I think people don't even talk about Cam Smith. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like he an
Mhm.
afterthought. I think that kid gonna have
he's
a
not the
major.
biggest athlete. Like people during this time get caught up in the athleticism and the
Mhm.
size.
Yeah.
He's not the biggest. He's not the
He's tall
fastest.
enough.
He's not the most athletic.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, he's tall enough. He's what, 6'1", 185. But dude, the ball skills, like we talk about, if we talk about Emmanuel Forrest for his ball skills, Cam Smith has to be up in there as well. And he's bored, right? You think what that jumped out to me from even his sophomore take, because I think he's coming out as a junior, was the smoothness out of in and out, like laterally, covering guys deep, especially catching up speed. But the way he sticks even downfield, and he's able to track the ball even deep. Cam Smith has an underrated ability that translates really well in the NFL. Kind of reminds me of Darius Slay to an extent. So
Yeah.
Cam Smith should definitely have more first one round buzz to me.
Yeah, he just seemed like he didn't get no run, but like I said, that's a guy I think just a guy to watch. You know what I mean? DJ Turner
Definitely.
lit up the truck. He ran the fastest 40 time, and me and Walt, was talking about
Yeah.
DJ. And I think DJ is a spot for him. Man, if I had to say where he might go, because think about it, like we see it every year in the draft, whatever position, if it's a running back or uh defensive back, when the cornerbacks start going, they're gonna start going. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yep.
think once the first guy, Christian Gonzalez, goes off the board, people gonna start to try to get the guy they want, you know what I mean, after that. So, DJ Turner gonna fall into place, just because, he might not be the first guy taken, but he'll be in there. Third round, maybe a third round grade on him. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
So
Right.
DJ Athletics, he athletically got himself into the first round. I
you
mean,
think
the second,
so?
no, the second round,
Like,
Yeah,
wow.
second round makes more sense, but first
second
round, I
round.
don't
But
see that on tape. Yeah.
yeah. He's a good football player.
I've one
I think he
guy, one
is.
last guy at corner. Sorry. Yeah, I've one last guy at corner. What's your take on Riley Moss? We all say, well,
Um,
we don't see many
I'm gonna be
corners,
fair.
but look,
I'm gonna be
dude is athletic.
1,000% honest about it. I'm gonna be 1,000% honest about it. I
Yeah.
was kind of biased because I didn't want to really believe he was really that good. But Riley was good in coverage. But he also
Whew.
didn't really play anybody. So it's like in the Big Ten, this was kind of a down year for receivers, I think, in the Big Ten.
Right.
Riley, he ran fast. He's got pretty good ball skills. He moves pretty good. Um, the thing is this, though. I think a lot of times during this year is about perception, too. Are there going to be teams who are going to have biases against him and just automatically not really deal with him because he's a white corner?
Hmm.
It's possible. But I think Riley's a good football player, man.
No, yeah, I think he's a legitimate corner in the NFL. Like I
Yeah, he's
remember
6'4", good size.
seeing him the year prior. Uh, yeah, there was a point where I think he was playing against Penn State. Mind you, Penn State the year before they had John Dotson. He did a pretty good job against like Dotson. He had a lot of picks. I loved his ball skills. But yeah, I think subconsciously, unfortunately, we're like, okay, this guy's gonna get overlooked because he's a white guy playing corner. But if you look at the tape, he plays corner fairly well, and he has the measurables. He's 6'1", 193.
And that's what I tell
And
people.
he's
The thing is this,
fast.
man. We don't see
Mhm.
white corners that often, if ever. So if you do see a white corner, you might as well assume he can play. Because you don't see too many white corners in
True.
Division 1 college football, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
yeah, people don't want to believe it. Just like even Charlie Jones, people don't want to believe Charlie Jones was good. Charlie Jones is a
Pretty
good
good
player.
player.
Charlie Jones
He's gonna
gave
be a
Joey
really
Porter
good
some
player.
problems, but Charlie Jones is the type of
Oh,
receiver that
major.
would give Joey Porter problems.
He gave Garrett Williams problem. He gave a lot of good
Garrett
corners
Williams is a good
problem.
football player. I like Garrett
He's
too.
a good football player. And mind you, at Iowa, they have another white corner coming up next year, Cooper DeJean, who is, I think, better than right now.
Oh,
So
wow.
Iowa's a sauce, man. I don't know, man.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. So before we go, man, anything, whatever you want to touch on as far as the combine, Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, whatever, anybody you want to touch on. One guy I do want to bring up is all right. So Blake Freeland of
Yeah,
BYU,
BYU, yeah.
37-inch vertical, 37.5-inch vertical,
right.
has that basketball type of build. Um, Looked tremendous. Moves good. Looks like almost like a borderline first round pick.
Hmm.
Played really well the last couple years. You go back and look at his numbers. John Michael Smith, the center from Minnesota, is a guy
Minnesota.
who I think he can play guard as
Hmm.
well as center. Most centers can play guard anyway. That's just how it is, the nuance of the position.
Right.
Um, the offensive line in this class, and I'm a big offensive line guy. Do you see more value on the outside with the tackles or the guards?
Go ahead, E. You can answer first.
Depends on your scheme. Yeah, it depends on your scheme. I mean, the guys you definitely don't want to miss on this year at tackles Broderick Jones, Paris Johnson, Easton Iverson of Oklahoma. Those are the guys you don't want to miss. So those guys I can put on an island, and I think they're gonna do well, or at least develop well. Although Skoransky, people say has 5 position flex. Me, I see a guy who can actually stay at tackle. That's my take. Now, I think usually also the first round, there's a lot of value, especially after the late teens, in the 20s for guys who are tackles in college that can convert to guards and really be athletic guards. And I think candidates like that are like Matthew Bergeron of Syracuse, Cody Mock of North Dakota State. He kind of reminds me of Cole Strange last year coming out of
I
Chattanooga.
said the same thing.
Where
Yep. Yep.
yeah, the measurables are there. The aggressiveness is there. And so this is another guy you want to overlook this quote unquote like small school, although like that's not a small school, North Dakota State. But Cody Mack is a late first round candidate just based on that. So, but it really depends, especially given today, like you have to deal with the Aaron Donalds who are inside, a lot of DNs who are going inside now. Chris Jones, you need really good athletes at guard right now. So I think it brings even more values to the guys that can actually bump down to guard and really be excellent long-term guys. The similar in a way that Zach Martin did, Brendan Scherf, and to name a few. So it really, but again, it really depends on what you know. But I think there's still going to be a high premium on offensive linemen in the first round this year, for sure.
Shanti,
Yep.
you got something you want to talk about, man?
Yeah,
don't,
you know what?
Don't bring
Yeah.
up Bijan Robinson, man.
No. I was, you know what? And then thinking of him, I was kind of disappointed, man.
Really,
he looked like
he lit it up to me.
no
He
no
looked like-
offense, no
I'ma
offense,
say
but he looked like okay, like this is
I
what I
know.
do. It
I love
it wasn't great.
For me,
I,
it was good.
I like Bijan, but this is why. Like Nolan Smith, I love the reaction. Remember, he ran the time and he was pissed. You know what I'm saying? Take some pride in it. It's almost like Bijan didn't want to be there to me. You know what I'm saying? I think Jahmyr Gibbs might be a little bit more hungry. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's no doubt that he's got talent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you know, I've been wanting Bijan since the beginning of the season. I say he'd be great in the Lions uniform. But man, that's to say if that's the only thing, I'm nitpicking because we know he's fast as hell. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to prove that part of it. We know he got individual skills, but it's just the body language. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big body language guy. But if I had to pick offensive lineman, I would pick Braden Daniels, man. Braden Daniels from Utah is a guy that looked real athletic to me. You know what I'm saying? I had to kind of see it to believe it. You know what I'm saying? Which I see it with the pads on and him in battle, but it's all about the individual workouts with the combine, and that's what you want to see: the agility, you know, the footwork, the quickness. And he answered some questions, you know, for that. And Broderick, I mentioned Broderick Jones. I always try to keep my eye on the top guy, right? That's getting the love. So Broderick Jones is a guy. He's an athletic too. You know what I mean? Young kid, strong. Got good hand placement. You know, I love Broderick Jones too, and I like Brady Day. I think both those kids are they got bright futures, man. You know what I'm saying? They coachable. You know what I mean? Good size. I mean, these guys walk is getting, and then the lineman is getting more slimmer every year. It's almost like they're not even offensive line. I mean, yeah, with the Tristan Wirfs, you know, those guys are big guys. You know what I'm saying? But some of these guys don't even look like offensive linemen. You know what I mean? That Blake Freeland, I was gonna mention him, but you did it before I did, and that guy's a special dude. He's a mountain of a man, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you know, a lot of them kids they outgrow certain sports that they played in high school, or they outgrow positions in high school that they played in football. Like I think Blake played basketball in high school, and then he realized that wasn't going to be his calling. So he went to go play football, and then a lot of those guys also played tight end.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah.
And you know what
Lane
else I
Johnson
like
ain't
too,
the only
Mark?
one.
Not just because we got Penei Sewell, but I like Noah Sewell too. I like Noah Sewell, linebacker. I think he got a mean streak, man. You know what I'm saying? Just like Penei. I ain't saying draft him because we got his brother on our team, but you know what I'm saying? I seen some stuff that I like from him too, you know, individually. So
no, for sure. Speaking of Penei Sewell, there's a guy who reminded me a lot of him, Darnell Wright of Tennessee, man. You see that big boy movement, the smoothness for such a big man, 6'6", 333 pounds. Like he didn't run fast, but it's just the way he moves. I mean, it's like, wow. Like you understand now why he was able to mirror and shut down Will Anderson. So this is a guy for sure. Darnell Wright, that's a guy I forgot in the tackle. He's a first round pick.
Yeah, I like Darnell Wright.
Draft, like hands down, like.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not getting more love.
Yeah, me and Walt talked about him in the last show. Walt,
But he
remember?
remind me kind of, and this is heavy praise, but he reminds me kind of Trent Williams.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
he
yep,
plays with that same physicality. That well, I don't know about the attitude. Trent can try to put his hands on you.
yeah.
He told you
He a little disrespectful a little bit.
yeah, Trent the kind of left tackle you want.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
like
want
Darnell Wright. That was good, E, because I think I text Walt during the combine about Darnell Wright. I forgot about him, but yeah, I really like him a lot. And I wouldn't be because Walt, me and Walt, kind of in the same boat with the Lions. Like you kind of do maybe need to draft a guy, you know what I'm saying? Maybe, to kind of get him in the system. And I wouldn't be upset at all at 18 if they took him, you know what I'm saying? Because he's that talented, I think, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's a
mean the
good.
only way you keep a solid offensive line foundation in place is to keep bringing in quality offensive linemen. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not sexy. The fans don't want to hear about you drafted offensive lineman. Think about Patriots fans last season when they heard Cole Strange name called in the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
round.
The-
but they got them they got them a Pro
Woo.
Bowl type center, man. You know what I'm
The
saying?
guard,
Offensive
yeah,
lineman, you know what I
yeah,
mean? For years
yeah.
to come. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, fellas, we had these people long enough. Emmanuel, where can anyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at EC Wagnac. So EC and then like my last name Wagnac on Twitter, on Instagram Emmanuel C Wagnac. So these are the two places, and of course on East West Football, writing articles. Got some good
Back
articles
to
coming.
business.
I'm gonna do a all combined team. The guys who I feel are prototypes to look at the position, and all combined team anomalies. The guys who maybe don't have all the ingredients at every position, but those are guys who are gonna buck the trend. So watch out for these articles.
Yeah, he the best in the business. Walt article, man. He's the truth, man. I really enjoy it. For real though, real talk. I mean, you really got some talent, man. And I look nothing for. I look forward to your articles, but now it's just like the sky's the limit, man. You know what I'm saying? You really got some talent. So
Appreciate that.
I just want to put it out there. Just want to say that.
Appreciate that, my
Definitely,
man.
definitely.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Ashanti, where can they find you at?
Oh yeah. Instagram. I'm on IG. Ashanti underscore Beasley underscore VFTW, V for the win on Instagram. So I'm gonna be like trying to see what I can do, man, on this article thing too as well. I got a lot to learn from you guys. So, that's the next step in my sports career is to try to be a better article writer. So we'll see how that goes.
There you know. 1% better every day. 1%
Mhm.
better every day. But all right, man, we are about what about almost a month and a half away from the NFL draft.
Yep.
Got pro days coming up in a couple weeks. I guess people can kind of simmer down until the pro days start jumping off and quarterbacks start throwing 68-yard bombs in the air and everybody starts running around losing their minds. But till then, that's it for East West football. Peace.